was quiet, but not empty. I lived in a small room with the future spread out in front of me. Screens glowing with places that didn't need me to be anything first. Starships came and went, doctors changed faces, time travel was casual, technology was kind. I was content to sit there and think forward, to imagine distance as possibility instead of absence. Outside I rode my bike until the streets stopped naming themselves. No destination, no audience, just motion and the steady proof that I could go somewhere under my own power. I was alone then, and it felt like freedom. Something changed without announcing itself. I was still alone, but the future stopped being enough. Other people began to matter in ways I hadn't rehearsed. My crowd's not belonging, just one person, close enough that distance would finally stop. I wanted a bond that didn't loosen when you looked away, something inseparable, something that stayed. The wanting surprised me with its force. It felt urgent, almost chemical, as if a door had opened all at once after years of getting sealed. Enjoyment shifted outward, things felt unfinished unless someone else was there. Films went unwatched, moments collapsed without a witness. My pleasure lived in their response. I didn't recognize it as need, I thought it was connection when it came briefly. It was overwhelming, too bright, too much. Ordinary friendship, dark-sided. I didn't know then how intensity can masquerade as depth, or how loneliness learns new tricks when it finally tastes relief. I carry bed wanting forward, well, the time I found myself in my first real relationship, I was already convinced it was more than I deserved. I loved from below, from comparison, from fear of being found out. Jealousy followed me in, dragging an old inferiority behind it. I mistook vigilance for care and anxiety for devotion. I know now I gave her a terrible time. Not out of cruelty, but out of believing too busy trying not to fall apart. I didn't stop to heal. I stepped straight into the next relationship with the woman who would become my wife, still carrying the same weight, still unsure how to put it down. Trust didn't come easily, nor did clarity. We both learned ways to get what we needed without always saying it plainly. It takes two to make that kind of shape. I didn't always know what was happening until much later. As the years passed, we shared less and less ground. I tried harder, harder still, harder still. I believed, foolishly perhaps, that we were both trying. Loneliness didn't leave, it just moved indoors. When the marriage ended, I was still standing. The children were there, life continued with shape and noise and shared routines. I didn't feel whole, but I felt needed. There was enough for a while. My children and I shared a life in small, ordinary ways. Television in the evenings, films that mattered because we watched them together. Bikes and running routes, worn smooth by repetition. It was easy, natural, unforced. When my daughter left for university, the house didn't just empty, it went quiet in a way I hadn't known before. That was when I fell apart. Not because she was gone, but because she had been the last place where my life was shared. Without effort, my son stayed, and my poor boy had to mop up the pieces. I see that clearly now, but something shifted in that time. I learned slowly how to stand without leaning. So when he too left, I didn't collapse again. Loss repeated, but it didn't undo me. Now I am alone. There is no searching, no hunger dressed up as hope, no sense that something essential is missing from the room. Some things are still shared, I'm not done at all. I don't pretend otherwise, but the quiet no longer frightens me. It doesn't echo, it doesn't accuse. I recognize now what took me so long to learn, that being alone not the same as being unseen. I wish quietly that it hadn't taken 58 years to arrive here. I feel sorrow for the boy who thought freedom would be replaced by love, and for the man who tried too hard and hurt people without knowing how else to be. But I don't let that sorrow cloud this moment. It passes through and moves on. What remains is steadiness, ease, a life that no longer needs to be witnessed, to be real. For the first time, I am alone, but I am not lonely.